It's Thursday, the 29th of September 2022. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories in 5 minutes. Let's jump into it. Story number 1, amid all the chaos in financial markets at the moment, tens of billions of dollars being wiped off equity markets and from bond portfolios, it seems that retail therapy is calming the nerves a little.
And good on all those consumers out there that just keep on spending. Retail sales across the country rose a healthy 0.6% last month. They're nearly 20% higher than a year ago, albeit when COVID restrictions were in full flight. It's been 8 months in a row of rises. What are they spending it on? Well, they're spending it in department stores, that's for sure. They're buying household goods in large numbers. There's more food and eating out. That could be at a cafe or a restaurant or takeaway. What they're not buying as much of is clothing, footwear, and personal accessories. Now, it does seem somewhat ironic that we have all the bad finance news, yet people are still spending. Basically, they have jobs. People spend money when they have a job or can get a job. Also, they're drawing down on the massive savings buffer they built up during COVID. And while interest rates have been rising, many people haven't yet experienced the full effect, particularly if they took out a fixed rate loan last year. Unfortunately, it can't go on. Higher interest rates will have to start hurting eventually. What else does it mean? Well, it probably means that the Reserve Bank Board, when it meets next week, is more likely to lift interest rates, and economists reckon they'll lift interest rates by 50 basis points rather than 25 basis points. So, great people are spending money, maybe not so good that it influences the Reserve Bank to keep lifting interest rates.
Okay, on to story number 2, Sean. And Treasurer Jim Chalmers had a fair bit to say about quite a few things yesterday. But to pick out the 2 things that really interest me, he spoke about the $5 note and he spoke about petrol prices.
Yes. Dr. Chalmers said he had a conversation with the Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowe on the status of the $5 note. He said there's no rush to decide whose picture will replace Queen Elizabeth II. Certainly, she'll be on new notes for the foreseeable future. On petrol prices, Dr. Chalmers also conceded that the end of the petrol excise discount, which will add about 22.5 cents a litre to the cost of fuel, will be difficult for many Australians. But he warned petrol suppliers not to push up prices unnecessarily, saying the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission was on the lookout. In fact, Michael, yesterday the Australasian Convenience and Petroleum Marketers Association came out and said prices shouldn't rise for another 5 to 7 days because petrol stations have plenty of fuel underground that hasn't attracted the increased excise.
Sean, on to story number 3. Every day we're hearing more about the Optus cyber breach. What's the latest?
Well, it's becoming a political football, with opposition leader Peter Dutton saying Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill has been missing in action. All sorts of talks going on. The government said they're talking to the banks about stepping up monitoring of accounts of customers whose personal identification date had been stolen. Health Minister Mark Butler said he was considering whether to roll out new Medicare numbers to people involved. Several state governments have allowed victims of the attack to immediately replace driver's licences, with Optus footing the bill. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese kind of said the same thing about replacement passports, saying Optus needed to do everything it could and it should foot the bill. Also, the class action law firms are circling. No surprises there. Slater and Gordon was out on Monday saying it's investigating a legal claim. Yesterday was Maurice Blackburn's turn. Still, the people affected, the 10 million people affected, don't actually know what's going to happen with that data that was stolen.
Okay, story number 4, Sean, is one for the wrestling fans, which is actually not a sentence I thought I'd say on this podcast. But anyway, Foxtel has expanded its portfolio, signing a multi-year deal with WWE, which is the American professional wrestling franchise.
Oh, Michael, what's even more exciting for people like you and me is that Foxtel will launch a standalone 24/7 WWE channel in December. It'll include Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, all those WWE live events that we used to have to pay for. Well, if you subscribe, you can get it for free. According to the Australian, professional wrestling has enjoyed a resurgence in recent years with a new generation of stars such as Roman Reigns, I like that, and the Usos. I don't think they're Hulk Hogan or Andre the Giant. Anyway, it's coming to a Foxtel set near you.
All right, last one. Story number 5, Sean. Apple is backing off plans to increase production of its new iPhones after an anticipated surge in demand kind of failed to materialise.
Apple has told suppliers to pull back from efforts to increase assembly of the iPhone 14 product family by as many as 6 million units in the second half of this year. According to Bloomberg, instead the company will aim to produce 90 million handsets for the period. That's about the same as last year. Demand for higher-priced iPhone 14 Pro models is stronger than for the entry-level versions, and an Apple supplier was quoted as saying it had been called to shift production capacity from lower-priced iPhones to premium models.
There we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Thursday, the 29th of September 2022. Remember to hit follow on the podcast, and if 5 minutes isn't enough for you, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.